I've always thought the psychology of people who blame other people, who live a life of blaming others, was fascinating. And the reason is because they have this idea or this warped way of thinking that if they blame someone else, the situation, they project their feelings onto the other person, and they begin blaming that person for the way they talk to them or the way they treat them. Basically, those people never really grow. They're kind of stunted. And we all need to vent and talk about our problems. But when you start reiterating the same problem, and if a problem has gone on for more than a month, then now you have to really step back and look at yourself and go, oh my gosh, what am I doing? How am I contributing? Because you are contributing, whether you realize it or not. It's one of the reasons that I really work with couples and individuals about taking a radical responsibility, attitude, or perspective shift in their life. Because the one thing is, if you claim responsibility, whether you start with a small part or half of it, which is reasonable, then you can change it. Now you have some power. Now you have some grit. You can start working on changing it. How are you going to change it? You're going to change it by reflecting on your own reactions. But let's get into this psychology and why it happens. Let's start by talking about why it's so seductive to blame other people when things happen. Well, first of all, it's easy. Like if it's a situation or the weather or something else, you don't have to do anything. You're like, yeah, that's why. Like there's no part that you have to change, grow, or face that maybe you screwed up. Secondly, when you blame, it means you don't have to be vulnerable. Now you don't have to talk about how bad you felt or why you feel guilt or why your conscience is nudging you to do something else. You don't have to do it because you're not going to do it. It's somebody else's fault or it's a situation. Blaming others, it feeds your need for control, because after an event happens or a transaction you don't like, the first thing you're looking for, your brain wants, is control. You want to put it into a category. And if you blame someone else, it's so much easier to say, bad. This person is bad. And because they're bad or sick or whatever they are, I'm going to put them in a file. And then I don't have to deal with them because it's not me. Other people have said it's not me. If it's not me, it's them. Bad file. And next, blame helps relieve any feelings of being denied. Like if, let's say somebody doesn't like you, or somebody is constantly against you, or somebody said you did something and it was bad, and you're keeping that going in your mind, and you're still angry about it. Basically, you didn't get the warm fuzzies you thought you deserved. At work, you didn't get the allocations you thought you deserved, or nobody stood up and went, you're wonderful, you're a star, you're whatever. And when you don't get those, and you don't get them a lot, you start feeling bad about yourself. And rather than blaming somebody else or blaming a job, if you take responsibility and say, well, I know I want these things, I know I need these things, so I think I'm going to change my resume, I'm going to work on it, I'm going to find a new job. You don't. You blame the situation, hoping you'll get someone new in there, or something will happen that you'll get lifted out of there. Anything, just not to face what's going on. And lastly, blaming protects your ego. Like, it helps your ego stay afloat. I really am a good person. This person just obviously doesn't understand. Or I'm a really good worker, but this job is overwhelming and it's short-staffed, or whatever it is. Anything to preserve yourself, and that's what it does. But along the way, blaming in that way, blaming is helpful to you, right? But it also does terrible things. It stunts your growth, for one thing. You're not going to be able to personally grow. You're not going to be able to practice mind shifting or taking on a new perspective. You're not going to be able to see the confidence that comes from heading something up, making a big change, keeping that goal, continuing that, and persevering. So all those skills of resilience, you're not being able to practice or to grow because you've got yourself in a victim type category or one that shifts blame, so you don't have to take care of it. You don't have empathy because it's impossible. You can't really allocate for yourself. You can't really learn to say, well, at least you tried that. Didn't go so well, but you tried it. So your ability to learn empathy and practice empathy within yourself is also stunted. And you don't have healthy relationships because the more this goes on, it's going to bleed into your other relationships. And you know what? Friends can take you complaining about something for a little while, but even if they're not trained, they know if this has been going on for more than a month, then there's a big problem inside you. And this is how they look at it, whether you like that or not. And your relationships all start kind of looking at you like who is she going to blame next? Who's going to be at fault? Why is this situation not going to work for them this time? And you become, if you're this way, you become somewhat cynical. You kind of withdraw a little bit. You don't want to be around people. Your experiences with people isn't good. I think the biggest thing it takes away too is your confidence. You stop having confidence in yourself, and that feels really bad, especially if you used to have confidence, but you are letting this eat away at you. What you need to do instead is you need to start working on your self-esteem. You need to make yourself promises, and you need to keep them. You need to, okay, this week, I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week. I'm going to do journal writing 2 days a week. I'm going to stand up for myself if it's a particular person who you're putting blame on, when this person tries to attack me or something else. I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to get triggered. I'm simply going to stand up for myself and say, treat me in a respectable way. And that might be my mantra for a while, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because I deserve to grow in this area, and I'm taking back me. I'm going to allocate and advocate for myself. You know, and I know I'm a therapist, and therapists say you got to talk about stuff. You got to talk about it and get it out. Not in this case. You tell the story one time, hopefully to a therapist. That therapist tells you what you need to work on, whether it's building boundaries, standing up for yourself, being more assertive about yes and no and being clear about that, and then you practice those. But when you tell others in your inner circle about this, more and more you're building on the cause that you're placing blame on this situation or person. Then what happens is the more you do that, the more it gets involved, the more difficult it is to get out of it. And once you're so deep into this vicious line of circling, being able to be radically responsible is so difficult, because while you're trying to be honest and take back control, it also means the drama level has to minimize. And if you're retelling the story over and over and over again, guess what? The drama is going to go higher each time. If this video is helpful for you, please subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much.